the property. If somebody has $100,000 worth of equity, there's nothing wrong with them wanting $10,000, $20,000 so they can move on quickly with their life. Okay. All right, so part two here. Part two, before we get into the training again, I want to make sure that you understand that Facebook ads is an absolutely viable way for you to generate not just buyers, not just sellers, but even buyers, because people see your ads and people want to get on your buyers list because they see you as an active marketer. Okay, it's a great way to show that you are an active marketer, and the investors, cash buyers, people looking for deals, or they would rather work with the person that's actively marketing. Most people who call themselves wholesalers are not actively marketing. Some of them are driving for dollars. That's not active marketing. Some of them are putting up bandit signs every other 3 or 6 months. That's not active marketing. Some of them are following the gimmicky old school ways, that basically position them to not be consistent, right? But when somebody see your ad, that's the ultimate consistency in marketing. Every buyer will want to get on your list, and that means it makes it that much easier for you to do your deals, okay? To flip your deals even faster, okay? You want leverage in your favor, okay? You need points of leverage in order for you to do deals, okay? If you don't have points, or if somebody is not motivated, that gives you very, very small room to operate, okay? There is absolutely no excuse and there's zero opportunities for you when you're dealing with non-motivated sellers. You need people that say, I need to get rid of this property as of yesterday. Once somebody is asking for $20,000 up front, that's your number one red flag that they may not be motivated. Should you walk away? Not necessarily. You may want to pull out your selling flags, okay, your selling hat. You may want to pull that out and tell them, like, listen, you're looking for $20,000, Now, it depends also on how much equity they have in the property. If somebody has $100,000 worth of equity, there's nothing wrong with them wanting $10,000, $20,000 so they can move on quickly with their life, okay? Why would they want to give you $100,000 equity? Because again, they have other important things in their life. That $100,000 equity is only useful for people who have time to sit in a property, okay? If you don't have the time to sit on a property, that equity is of no use for you, that's what creates motivated sellers, okay? That's what creates motivated sellers. The fact that they have an equity that cannot turn to cash, meaning it's of no value for them. Yeah, someone can have an equity of $100,000 and it's of no value to them, but they have other things going on in their life and they need to move. In that scenario, of course, you want to make sure that you want to make sure that there's motivation, okay? Make sure there's motivation. Equity does not mean cash, okay? So I wanted to point that out to you. Let's go on. Me make money, okay? These are the numbers that I need in order to make money. As a matter of fact, let me make sure that's a little lighter. All right, this number right here, maximum allowable offer, will allow me and my investors and everybody to make money, and including the homeowner to be comfortable, because I will basically outrightly purchase the property out of their hands. They can't turn around that they didn't choose to sell me the house. They have to agree to this number. That means they have to be motivated. That means the property has to be a complete liability for them to be willing to sell at this price. If they are owing too much, so for example, if you go back here, let me give you a scenario. The only way out of this situation is if they're owing $215,000, they will not be able to pay off their loan that they're owing at $162,000 unless we get the mortgagor, the bank, the mortgage bank, to agree to accept this money. If the bank agrees to accept $162,000 as compared to $215,000 that they actually owe, that's called a short sale. Okay. When you do a short sale, okay, so this video is about real estate wholesaling, short sale versus subject to versus impossibilities, basically. Okay. All right, that's what that means. All right, so that's what that typically means. Okay. But so we're talking about real estate wholesaling, subject to versus short sales, right? The subject to work. Okay, what's the best way to structure this deal? That's what this video and this training is about. Okay. So with that said, that's possible, but the homeowner will have to be a lot more motivated than Miss Admire V Hunt claims. Okay, they will have to be a lot more motivated than that. That means they are willing to walk, because if the bank is going to take a loss of about what is it here, 38 plus $15,000. That's 40 plus 15, 55. That's about $53,000. The bank is going to take a loss of $53,000. You best believe the bank don't want you to walk away with anything. The bank is not going to be happy with you walking away with $20,000 when they just lost $53,000. That doesn't make sense to them. But if they know you're walking away with nothing and you're truly distressed and you've listed with the realtor, the property has expired on the market and you couldn't sell it, but you can't afford, you're now late 3 months on the loan, right? You're delinquent 3 months on the loan and you can't get rid of this situation. The bank, a lot of time, will happily accept $162,000 from a buyer. They will agree to it. You have to sign to it, and then the bank may turn around and say, "Hey, that was an income of $53,000 for you. You have to pay taxes on that." Sometimes they do that. There are programs that Obama put in place. I don't know if they're still valid. That you can basically walk away from not having to pay taxes on that. Either way, you're relieved. This property is gone. You're not obligated to the loan anymore. It's a viable thing that a lot of people do. If you, it's a good way to clean up your books. Even if you have other situations that you will have to file bankruptcies on. It's a good way to clean your books. Short sales, okay? It's a good, valid option when there's no equity in the property. So now, this person, like I was saying, there's a high chance they're delusional. Um, they think they have some equity. They think they have $25,000 of equity in the property. All right, they think they have $25,000. All right, um, and now they're giving you that $25,000 in their opinion because they're asking 240. Right. Um, this numbers show you that they're actually negative equity. Okay. If they need to sell now, not 30 days from now, and they can't sell now, they're negative equity. You have to, when you're thinking of equity, time is a part of equity. Okay, you have to think of time as part of equity. Does that make sense? So short sales will work on this one. All right, but if they want $20,000, short sale is not gonna work. Okay, so for me, when I used to facilitate my own short sale deals, I would agree to give a homeowner $2,000 just so they can move, just to relieve their pain, so they can have some money to put down as deposits in another apartment that they may be moving to, just so they can move. And a lot of time there may be a couch that they don't need in a personal property in their house, and I would simply claim that I'm buying one of those personal properties for $2,000 because again, the bank don't want them to walk away with anything. Now there are some programs where the bank will say yes, we allow up to a certain amount for them to walk and move. If the bank put that stipulation in their short sale approver, then the lawyer or the closing agent will see that and they will be comfortable giving them that money from the closing, from the net on the hot sheet, okay, from the closing statement. But if the short sale approver says the homeowner is or the seller is not allowed to walk away with anything, the closing agent, if they're doing the right thing, will not want to put that any kind of money on the statement, on the closing statement, that the seller is walking away with. You know, because it can implicate them because that's illegal. Okay, so $20,000 is a stretch for somebody who claims to be motivated. Okay, and in the combination of no motivation and no equity, okay, negative equity as a matter of fact, okay. uh, you may say, but there's still $25,000 of equity. $25,000 of equity on a $265,000 worth of house, basically around 10% is no equity, okay, because you haven't factored in time, you haven't factored in many other things, many other factors of life that becomes monetary value. Okay, all right. Thank you, baby. Thank you so much. All right. So, all right. So let's get into some of the comments that we're seeing here. So that's short sales. Short sale can definitely work if this homeowner is not willing to do short sale and they don't have equity at the same time. It's not a it's not something I would invest my time in. I would rather invest my time in more marketing, in more like looking for more deals and more leads that are more motivated. That's the best use of my time because I enjoy marketing. And if you are real estate, you call yourself a real estate wholesaler and you don't enjoy marketing, you are probably going to suffer. On top of that, you're going to lose money. You're going to lose time, which is much more valuable than money, on wasting time on the wrong type of leads. Okay, and you're going to call it getting creative. You're going to call it all types of name. You're going to call it problem solving. Okay, and you're going to call it whatever. You're going to justify you not making money. But the best way to make money in any entrepreneurship game is to really get good at your marketing, and which is basically what I teach heavily in my book. Make sure you get my book, Smart Real Estate Wholesaling. Okay. All right. So let's dive in a little bit into the comments here. Okay. All right. So let's see here. All right. So I don't know. Ilioshun. Is this Ilioshun? REI. That's definitely, that sounds like a Nigerian. It says lock it up as a sub to. That means subject to. If you don't keep it for yourself, lease option or wrap and seller finance. Sell your contract to an end buyer for $30,000. Mm. Assuming your fee will be 10K. Okay. Someone else correct me if I'm wrong. All right. Um, so before we will look at this, I want you to follow me as I'm typing. Then I will explain what I type. Um, Maybe I shouldn't do that. Let me just talk to you. Let me just talk to you. It's a few of them. If it's for me to answer this person, I will have to type a little longer. So let me just talk to you. Okay. All right. So here's the thing. Before you can talk about subject to and lease option and things like this, you need to know what the rental value in that area is. Okay. What would a regular rental for that same size of house go for? Um, because if you subject to, in case you don't know what subject to is, what it means is that you buy the property subject to the existing mortgage on it. Okay, you're gonna buy a property that's worth $265,000. Okay, or to you as a wholesaler is worth $162,000. You're gonna purchase it, but subject to this existing lien against the property. That means no matter what you do with this property in the future, somebody has to pay $215,000. Okay. Now, you don't have to pay $215,000. The argument for subject to the existing loan is that you only have to worry about the monthly mortgage on that property. Okay? So, what is the monthly mortgage on that property? Let's do this, okay? I'm going to open another screen here. All right, so look at this right here. So for a $215,000, okay, uh, $250,000 period, down payment we're just gonna say zero just to see how much around a ballpark number, right? Let's say it's 5%. Okay. Amortization over a 30 years period. What would that monthly calculate? So $1,139. Okay. Plus the other cost. You have to look at all the cost of holding onto this property on a monthly basis plus the 1,100 mortgage. Can that be justified with a rent? Let's say you could rent it for 1,500, right? Or lease to option. Okay, lease option means a rent to own, right? So you sell it, you turn around, and you sell it to somebody else. Okay, now you have to market, you have to find the right buyer for it, right? So one thing you can avoid in this business is that you will still have to market. You're either marketing for a buyer or you're a seller, or a seller. You're either marketing to find a seller, a motivated seller, or you're marketing to find a qualified buyer. So let's say you find a person that's willing to rent to own, right? And willing to put down a down payment and they're willing to pay 1,500. Then that's doable, okay? Then you may be able to do subject to if that's the business you're in. Personally, I am not in that type of business. That's more or less becoming a property manager. Believe it or not, people are gonna say that, um, it doesn't mean you're a property manager. They're renting to own it, so they will take care of the property. That's true until there's a problem. Okay, that's very true until there's a problem. Plus, also, you're still hanging on the neck of the seller, because the name of the seller is still on the loan. They will still continue to be calling you to see if you're paying the mortgage. The day that your mortgage is late on that $215,000, because remember that $215,000 loan is still going to be there. Remember that, right? That $215,000 loan is still going to be there. So the day you decide that, not decide, but the day the mortgage is late or the tenant is not paying or the property is vacant, there's a chance that the property is going to be vacant at some point, and you mix money together or something goes wrong, then you will have the existing seller that you could have gotten rid of by doing short sales or by dealing with properties that you just get to buy and flip immediately without any subject tos, right? You have to deal with that person. So basically, it exposes you to all kind of liabilities that as a wholesaler, I don't like being exposed to that. I make 30, 40, $10,000 without being exposed to any such liabilities by focusing on the right type of lead that I don't have to deal with that. Now, some people deal with it and they're happy with that. They call it's just part of business. That's okay if you know for a fact that you're willing to do that. Does that make sense? So it's very, very important to understand that. Okay, so I would want to know a little bit more numbers about what is the rent going for in that area, right? And if I know that, if it's justifiable that they can pay $1,100, then it's probably doable if that's what you enjoy doing, subject to. Some of you are going to claim that, yeah, yeah, I don't mind as long as I make money. Well, there's some type of money that you don't want to be making. The money that's attached to activities you don't enjoy uh, will it's just gonna cause suffering, okay, and it's gonna take away from the part of the business that you enjoy. That's why I wouldn't do that. So subject to, this person say if you've never done a subject to deal, then you should JV on it with someone who has. Okay, let me give you another point. This he says agree. Let me give you another point. If somebody is not motivated enough to want to walk away with nothing from a house that's become liability for them, chances are they're not going to have the patience for you to be explaining what subject to and lease option is. They probably want to be in on everything, okay? They probably are very vigilant and they don't want to turn around and take $20,000 from you and then the property is defaulted, the loan, right? The mortgage loan is default and delinquent. They don't want to deal with that. Um, because they're not motivated. Because again, you're dealing with motivation. Once you get overly creative with real estate wholesale deals or real estate investing deals, a person that's not motivated will get shut off and they don't want to deal with you. Okay, if you will have to explain over and over and over and over. You will have to explain over and over and over. If you have to explain, you have to sell so much, your attraction level would decline. Okay, your attraction level in dealing with that lead would decline. They will get shut off. They wouldn't want to do that. Okay, they wouldn't want to do that. They would rather just go list the property on the market. Okay, especially if they still have up to 30 days, like you're claiming, right? So, just so you know, subject to deals are only useful if they're truly motivated and they want to walk away, right? And they have that loan, but they don't want their credit to be shattered, right? And they will rather deal with what do you call it? They will rather deal with they want to get rid of the house and not have to deal with the loan. Because if you do subject to, they are still responsible for the loan. They're not, according to your papers, but again, there's somebody that made a mention of waking up the sleeping giant. Most loans has the subject to they have uh, the due on sale clause, something like that. There's a clause in that contract that says if you've sold the property and you don't own the loan, they can call for you to pay off the full loan, the full amount of the loan, right? So you don't want to wake up that sleeping giant, or the homeowner calls the bank just to check, and they say, "Yeah, I sold the property," and you're like, "You sold the property? It hasn't been paid off." That's gonna happen too, because typically, the seller is not that loyal to you if they were not that motivated in the first place. Okay, these are different angles you should look at when you're considering subject to or lease option. And in other things, you're also dealing with a person that's bought into a lease option, a rent to own situation from you, and they're realizing you don't truly own the property. That can cause problems as well too. Okay, let's say the loan gets into a problem eventually and they foreclose on the loan. You could get into a whole lot of trouble. You just want to make sure that your papers are clean and it's allowed in your state, and you in fact enjoy subject to. Because if you enjoy subject to, then you would have had the right lawyers, right contracts in place, and you're willing to deal with the headaches that come with that. Okay, because this is real business. This is not a hobby. Okay. All right. Yeah. So let's keep going here. So it's agreed. It says complicated. How do you JV with someone on the subject to if you decide to keep and rent? Well, these are questions that. Okay, so somebody says you won't get $30,000 on this low of a house very easily from a tenant. Okay, maybe an investor. Why do they need $20,000? All right, great points. Okay, so here's what this means. Okay, great point that Michael brings up. Okay, so that's today's part of the series. Make sure you download the book, smartrealestateWholesaling.com. SmartrealestateWholesaling.com. You can see the link on the screen. Make sure you download the book and take advantage of the information in the book. It's absolutely for free. And make sure you stay plugged in on this, because this is getting better and better as you get through. Make sure you don't miss any part of this series. And hopefully you've been enlightened and educated, and I'll see you on the next one. And peace.